afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Montshire Museum of Science. My name is Marco Staffney. I'm the executive director here, and this is a ridiculously amazing day here at the Montshire. Are you excited to be here? I have the proud honor to welcome our distinguished guest, Dr. Berger. And I'm going to do the briefest of introductions of him because he can do a much better job of doing that and talking about his amazing scientific finds that he and a large team have been working on over the past number of years. Dr. Berger is an award-winning researcher, explorer, author, and speaker. He's the recipient of the National Geographic Society's first prize for research and exploration and the Academy of Achievement's Golden Plate Award. One thing that I think is really interesting about Dr. Berger is that he was born in Shawnee Mission, Kansas, and grew up in rural Georgia, very close to my hometown. He was a member of Troop 341 of the Coastal Empire Council. He was awarded the Eagle Scout he's an awarded Eagle Scout in 1983, achieving his silver and gold palms, and has been recognized as a distinguished Eagle Scout by the Eagle Scout Association of America. So not only an amazing scientist, but a pretty upstanding citizen as well. Berger is presently the research professor in human evolution and the public understanding of science at the University of Witwatersrand, Johannesburg, South Africa, and an explorer in residence at the National Geographic Society. He is also the division director of paleoanthropology in the Evolutionary Studies Institute at the University of Witwatersrand. He holds a PhD in paleoanthropology and a Doctor of Science in the same field. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Berger.
I have not had an introduction quite that enthusiastic in a very, very long time. That was fantastic. It is my great privilege to be here. Why I'm here is a very interesting story, and it's due to Professor Jeremy De Silva at Dartmouth, who is a colleague of mine with his lovely daughter. I see him holding over there. Jeremy I've known for, in fact, pretty much all of his career. As he's come up through the ranks, he's become an integral part of the science team, this extraordinary large science team that's come together to not only study the original discovery of Australopithecus sediba, which we first started finding remains of in 2008 after my then 9-year-old son Matthew found the first piece of that, but become an integral part of the team that of course did Homo naledi. His work is on the foot, and when I had the opportunity, I'm actually coming for a series of lectures in New York City to come up here to Dartmouth. One of the things that I said to him is, I'm passionate about communities like yours that embrace science and science education. There is not enough of that in the United States. There's not enough of that in the entire world. And so I wanted to do two things while I was here doing the typical academic experiment. One was to speak to high school students, which I had the privilege of talking to your wonderful Hanover High School students today, and seeing really the remarkable levels of education that are in your communities. And I wanted to donate a gift to your community. Something that is not typical of gifts that are often found in science museums and places. And immediately, Jeremy said he knows just the place. And after walking in here and seeing the extraordinary enthusiasm and most importantly, all of these young people that are enthused about science, that have watched the discovery of Homo naledi, but also are enjoying these fantastic facilities I hope to get a better look at in just a moment, I can really understand why Jeremy immediately thought of this place. As we were driving over here and crossing the river, I said, you know, think of the idea of a dedicated science museum in a community like this, and what an extraordinary place this truly must be. And you should all be very proud. My team and I have, over the last 2 years, been engaged in this most extraordinary adventure. And it really has been an adventure. From the moment that Steve and Rick went down this tiny 7.5-inch slot, went down 50 feet underground into this remarkable chamber and there first saw those remains. From the moment Pedro and Steve came late at night to my house and showed me those first images, and I realized that I and the colleagues that surround me were in for an extraordinary time, because I knew immediately that a great discovery had been made. Literally from the first moment of it, I realized that this was one of those extraordinary events in one's life as an explorer and a scientist. We decided almost immediately, after deciding to run an expedition very, very quickly, within a matter of 4 weeks from that moment, we had a 60-person expedition in the field of people who had volunteered and come from all over the world, the core being 6 scientists who just happened to be women who risked their lives for a period of 21 days, which at the end of that period, they had managed to discover the richest fossil human relative site ever discovered in the history of the continent of Africa. And yet, as we pulled out from that expedition, we left thousands and thousands of remains behind. We made a choice as a group at the time to share that part of the discovery with the world. And I hope some of you may have picked up in those early periods as we ran the Rising Star expedition with almost 1 million followers across various social media, engaging young people like these in classrooms around the world, people interested in the process of scientific discovery. Most of the time, the discovery of these type of fossils, these type of remains are effectively kept secret. You may hear about them in a tiny little newspaper blip, or you may hear about them through, if you happen to know scientists, but that discovery process is done in a sort of black box. My colleagues, the more than 60 of them that were involved in these 2 initial papers, and the nearly 160 that are involved in the greater project, are passionate about sharing not only the outcomes of science, but the extraordinary processes of exploration and discovery and recovery, and the fun of science. And it is fun. Even though climbing through a 7.5-inch slot 130 feet underground may not be everyone's cup of tea, it is ours. And we have, as a group, I think it is fair to say, had the time of our lives. The announcement of Homo naledi and its existence and its remarkable context was only 9 weeks ago. It, in fact, I can say for me, feels like a lifetime ago. The extraordinary way it went viral, when it trended #1 on Twitter, when it went around knocking the Kardashians off, and I think people inside would be pleased with that outcome. Not for long, mind you, but it did do it. To the way that it's been received by people around the world as what it is, an extraordinary look at something, a species, a relative of ours, that we did not know existed until this moment. And that's neat. We perhaps know more about this wonderful species than we do of almost any other primitive human relative ever discovered, just because we have so much. I'm pleased to tell you that there are thousands more remains still down in that chamber. We've left them for the time being until we decide as a community of human beings, not just scientists, what do we do next? How much do we leave for the future generations of scientists as technology and abilities increase, becoming better and better in the way that I think we are all aware that they do? That's a gift from our team and our generation of scientists and human beings to their generation, because their world is going to be a much more sophisticated world than ours. Their ability to understand the context of these, to extract these, is going to be so much more than we can believe, and that is so exciting. And I hope some of you are inspired by those explorers. People willing to go underground to quite literally risk their lives to recover fossils that enlighten us about where we come from. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because we as human beings need heroes that inspire us like that. Humans take far too little risk today. We need, in a world that is swamped by technology, where everyone thinks that solutions are found behind a computer screen, we need people to actually get out and explore. And in this case, this remarkable journey, those 6 heroes happen to be women. Not because they're women, because they were the best people and most qualified in the world to do that job. And that is something to be inspired by and something to applaud. This is going to be a great age of exploration. I assure all of you that. Paleoanthropology, the search for human origins, is a hard science. It's a science typically made of scraps. That is rapidly changing. We're finding greater things, and we're finding them in areas that have already been explored, where people thought they'd found everything. And the message I would like to leave you with here is, if that's true in a field like this, where a discovery like Homo naledi can be right under your nose, missed by scientists for 90 years looking for those objects in that very place, then what extraordinary things must be in our own backyards? How should that inspire us for every area of scientific endeavor and exploration? We need your generation, you young people, to be real explorers. Everything has not been discovered. And that's the message of Homo naledi. I'd like to give you something that to us is a very special thing. They're just bits of plastic, honestly. But they're bits of plastic that are being shared with you, not by me as an individual, but I bring them here on behalf of an entire country of people, the South Africans who own these, on behalf of the more than 30 universities of which the professors and scientists were involved with, on behalf of the explorers who worked to recover these, the initial team of 60, on behalf of the scientists who went into those chambers to risk their lives to deliver these to the world. And I think it entirely fitting that a small piece of these, a small message of these, in the form of these casts, would be delivered to a wonderful science museum like this one. I'm proud to give them to you and hope that you use them for education, teaching, not just about human origins, but about the thrill and enjoyment of discovery and exploration that will inspire young people like this to become the explorers and discoverers of the future. So if I could pull you forward to give them. These are a cast. This is a skull of Homo naledi. And I hope you can see how tiny it is. This is the hand of Homo naledi, with its very human-like proportions, with curved fingers and long thumbs. And this is just to make Jeremy De Silva have to come here and visit the museum, because he doesn't have one yet, is the foot of Homo naledi, something near and dear to his heart. I'd like to give them to you. Thank you.
Here, let's take a picture really quick.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. There we go.
That was a very inspiring speech. Thank you so much for gracing us with your knowledge and your inspiration about what it means to do science in the 21st century and how we need to sort of push forward. What we're going to do now is even more special, I think, because we get to see, we talk and be on TV, be on National Geographic and in magazines, but you don't often get a chance to get up close and personal. So what we're going to do is take our casts up here that we've just received and go up to our Science Discovery Lab right upstairs. Give us about a minute, maybe blow a bubble for just a second. And then we'll station him back in the Science Discovery Lab, and you can get a closer meet and greet with Lee. Jeremy, who's over here as well, is going to help out and maybe talk a little bit about that foot as we move on up there. You can visit that area by going to the staircase back over there that's open. It'll take you upstairs, or the elevator here. Again, we thank you so much for those remarks that were phenomenal, and we're really happy to have you here in the Upper Valley, Vermont, New Hampshire. Thank you so much for these amazing finds. Thank you.